slowly going live everywhere. If you're with us on Podbean, welcome to Above Average Black Men. We are getting ready. Ooh. And as we go, Facebook Live, welcome family. Welcome YouTube. Sometimes I don't be checking my hair before we get started. It does look kind of crazy on camera, huh? Ain't nobody say anything.
I don't know, since you always comment on when I wear my thing, so I think you have all under control.
Because you be coming in here with the dewey on.
Yeah, I got to put on the socks.
You just always try to show you young.
Nope, take it to my roots. Always take it to my roots.
Your roots? When have you ever wore a do-rag? I've never seen that in my life.
Because I always said close to, I always said,
you can wear a do-rag when you got clothes.
number one. I didn't need number one. I didn't need a do-rag. My waves are natural. I didn't need a rag.
Flex. See that? Well, I didn't get that G. I had to wear a do-rag. Skip the blame mom. I got the Pender mustache though. I should say that. Strong stash.
Anyway, welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Pender Sr.
Chris Jr., as always, excited to inspire, empower, and uplift the community. Hopefully through great conversation and dialogue today. Dev.
Kevin Pender here to say like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact with us.
We need it. Please give it to us. Give it to us. Drop some comments, drop some shares. Leave a thought. You know, I feel like as my dad and I, we all kind of share. People come up to us outside of this show and share their thoughts and opinions and how much they appreciate it. But we need the love online to continue to grow this thing. So we definitely appreciate it. You know, for those that share their comments and thoughts, keep it coming. But help us grow. Help us grow.
And I gotta apologize because I didn't post the show last week. I didn't say we were on vacation.
You was too excited to go on vacation, but you deserved it.
I totally forgot, man. But
anniversary was week before. You know, take a nice little trip. Guys went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, which I'm a fan of San Juan.
And St. Thomas.
And St. Thomas. Yes.
And we went to Coco Cay.
Coco Cay. Which one was your favorite out of the three?
San Juan.
San Juan was. I love San Juan too. Almost wanted to move there.
Well,
U.S. territory.
San Juan produced the high low for me. The high it was just something about the culture that was different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you felt comfortable. You know, It was almost like you belong there. Even though the language and stuff, it just
everybody was friendly and
But even in the atmosphere, people nobody. And I was amazed because nobody was blowing horns. For as small as the streets are, as many cars it was, nobody was blowing horns. But just the culture itself was like, man, your mom was like, well, how much does it cost to live here? She was like totally.
She's scoping it out now, like
So, I was really intrigued by the history. I learned a whole lot, the history, and then we took the walking tour. I learned not to take the walking tour again.
Right. See,
I did figure that out.
I disagree with that. Walking tour is something that I feel like you should try. Definitely, just be prepared for the walk-in. There's food as well. When you take some breaks.
When you're 62 years old with bad knees.
And that's what I said. It depends.
Yo, no cartilage in your left knee. The walking tour.
It's a lot of uphill. I will say that.
No, it's all uphill. It's a lot. Look, everything you go to is uphill, and it's small, and coming back down on the cobblestone didn't, and it was hot. We kind of picked the hottest time. I mean, the history part was cool, but it was a different kind of heat. It was hot, but it was humid. Yeah, it was like that dry heat.
That's how we get in here.
But and even the breeze is hot now. I ain't like Philadelphia. Even the breeze, you see the trees moving, like, yo, what is that? But just the things I learned about the history and the culture, and I was surprised that I thought the infrastructure was further along than it was. You can see they still work on the infrastructure, man, and it is going to be a really nice place. If I had money, though, I told your mom, if I had money, that'd be a nice place to invest.
It would, I think.
When we cut through the business district, they're like refabbing a whole lot.
I was going to say, Puerto Rico is a place that's kind of, over time, I feel like going to be revitalized. Well, city's a lot of fun.
They don't pay federal tax.
Yeah.
No.
For those who work there.
If you live there and work there, now if you live there and work in the U.S., you got to pay federal tax.
Yeah, you're going to pay that tax.
But that was it. That's why Puerto Rico is not a state yet, because they haven't figured out the tax structure. Because Uncle Sam won't get paid. So until they figure out the federal tax, because I didn't know, and we'll get into the show, they didn't vote for the president because they had delegates. I think that was odd that you have delegates, but your people can't vote for the president of the United States. But yeah, it was. We had a good time.
Like you said, I took that tour. It's certainly a lot of history there, and
Yeah.
I think people, in a general sense, just think of Puerto Rico and it's a place probably to go fun and be at the beach. But
what is the fact that y'all like?
Yeah.
Did you know? I can't think of it. The rum.
oh, Bacardi.
Did you know it's not made in Cuba? It's actually made in Puerto Rico.
I went to the factory, so yes.
Yeah. Well, they were in Cuba and they fled Cuba when Castro. So I'm thinking if they charge me for getting this from Cuba, that'd be I don't drink. But I'm saying if they charge you get from Cuba, they ripping y'all off because you're coming from Puerto Rico.
But like definitely for anybody that is not going to Puerto Rico, I would say go to San Juan.
We on a 7-day cruise, and this was by far the best cruise. This was by far the best cruise. And it was nice and it was peaceful. I don't go on vacation to go 100 miles an hour, but we figured out some things. Like when we got to port, we got off the boat in the morning because when we came back, everybody was off the boat. So we kind of had to run, but it was nice. It was real nice. We had a great time, man. Met some interesting people. Met a guy from New Zealand.
Always meet interesting people.
So that was interesting, man. And hearing his view of, he didn't use the word black, but hearing his view of African Americans and,
what did he say?
It's funny because this ties into our conversation. His indoctrination was he watched the DNC. He watched the Democratic National Convention. That's what he watched. So
that spectacle.
So, but that's only tells one side of the story. So he misses the whole other side of the story. So it was just funny how we had a great, he's a Christian. We were talking, so we had a great conversation. But it was interesting how people come in, they see one thing, and that's how it is.
That's a great segue. I would say into our topic tonight too, because that's very much so. Like I think, how this political climate is at the moment. Everybody's very much one-sided.
I got into a nice little discussion today. It was with somebody. It was an interesting conversation, man. It's a young brother who works for me now, and didn't know he was a Trumper. Probably wouldn't hire him. No, I'm just kidding. But he's not a Trumper.
People really out there like that though, who would not.
But let me say this. What we're going to talk about is when you hear the term "Make America Great," and I want to say that, and then I'll get to him. Mm-hmm. And I want to make this clear to anybody watching. It's not about Democrat, Libertarian, or Republican. My thing is, if you pick a candidate, pick him for a good reason. Don't tell me you picking him for his policies and then you repeat his opinions. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's not a policy. Don't tell me like he flip-flopped. He's pro-choice, pro-life, and now he's losing. He's pro-choice again. So don't tell me you picking him because he's pro-life. You know what I mean? And you just flip-flopping back and forth. Or you repeat stuff that's not true. Like the Kamala Harris thing, and then we get into the show. She locked up 15,000 black people. 15,000 black men. That's not true. If you go back and look at it, about 5% of that was African American, and they were selling drugs. And she didn't even have all the cases. They came under her office because the district attorney, she didn't prosecute all the cases. What they failed to say was it was Hispanics, it was white people, it was Jamaican men. They took all the men, the number of all the men, and just said it was African American. And you hear people repeating it. Yeah. And and my thing is, but how is that making America great when you're fabricating stuff? And I get it. If you like anybody because of their policies, God bless you. That's your choice. But let it be on some sound doctrine. Let it be on some sound policies. And so like I asked somebody and I posted it, and so nobody got offended, but people raised their eyebrows. When was America great for us? Was it Emmett Till? Was it Trayvon Martin? Was it Freddie Gray? Was it Eric? Was it George Floyd? When? As everybody say, and it's still the greatest country in the world, don't get me wrong, but people act like it was this perfect mystical place that we lived and everything was perfect. We want to go back to that time. Well, back to the 60s.
I don't think it's ever going to be a time in history where things are perfect. I don't think it's ever.
I agree, but people make it seem like that
on this earth that
I agree
is going to be perfect. 200%. And like I kind of had this conversation about what does Make America Great being before I left the house and came here with my girlfriend. So, and we were just, I mentioned to her, like, it is odd, like the statement of Make America Great Again, because it's very vague and open to interpretation. And some people definitely take it in that way of like kind of the white supremacy part. But then there's like, I don't know, there are some people who believe America has already been great, like in terms of if you look at the grand scheme of the world, like what other place would you want to live?
But be able to explain it. Most people our county says "Make America Great Again" cannot even tell you what that means, and then they tie into a person who thinks America great is when we can't vote.
Mm-hmm.
When he says I want to be a dictator, when he refers to us as the blacks, like we're inanimate objects, not people. So when is it great? You talk about a guy who coined the phrase, who hangs out with the KKK and the Proud Boys and says they're good people. So my point is, if you can tell me "Make America Great" and you can point to a specific timing and specific facts, I'm with you. Because but with all its blemishes, this is the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
This is so. But then the same person who coined the phrase talks about the country like it's a dog.
And I think that the statement itself, it kind of is divisive and meant to be divisive.
Bingo.
I think it like you said, it kind of it's such a broad statement that it's open to interpretation for people to be like, well, yeah, I thought it was great during the 20s. Well, I thought it was great during the 60s or 70s. You know what I mean? And then he's like rallied that base of people who like kind of run off of that rhetoric.
But the reference points that most people point to was when we didn't have a lot of rights.
Yeah.
It is when people who didn't look like us ran everything. When they kept us, in little compartments to make sure, we couldn't move outside this neighborhood. We couldn't go to these schools. We couldn't get these type of jobs. Everything we did had to be based on permission or their acceptance. So when I hear people say that, again, if somebody can say it to me and put it on a specific time that makes sense, I'm with you.
And I think that's ultimately, to me, is the question is like, I don't really know what it means, like "Make America Great Again." I really have no idea or clue, like, at what point, like you said, is like, when was it great and what is it that made it great? Nobody really points those things out. Like, because what is it that makes this country? That's a great question.
That's a perfect segue. This is from the Britannica. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Britannica.
Yeah, the MAGA movement.
Let me go back and explain something too. It's Britannica. They
Britannica.
used to be encyclopedias. They were
I
actually
know
books. Well, I'm explaining. I know your generation don't know.
You had a bookshelf.
When you actually had to open them up and research.
They had pictures in there and everything.
I think he's talking about some kind of disease.
That's what it sounded like. The MAGA movement, often referred to simply as MAGA or "Make America Great Again," was founded on a belief that the United States was once a great country, but has lost its status owing to foreign influence, both within its borders via immigration, multiculturalism, and without globalization or increased integration of multiple national economies. MAGA members think that this fall from grace can be reversed through America First policies that would provide a greater degree of economic protectionism. Thank you. Greatly reduce immigration, particularly from developing countries, and encourage and enforce what MAGA members consider the traditional American values.
Let's unpack that.
Immigration.
Let's start with immigration. I defy you to find me one person who, if you trace all their generation roots back, they're originally from this country. One pure race. You won't. So I had this discussion with a Caucasian gentleman. This country was founded on a bunch of people that left another country because they wanted to be free.
Yeah.
So and they came here and there was people here. So they were immigrants. They came here as immigrants. They weren't. So when I hear people say stuff like this, it kind of cracks me up because you're an immigrant. You came here. You took the land from the Indians and everything else in the world. You built this country on the slaves, the African Americans. You called it capitalism, whatever you want to call it. So and then you breeded African Americans like they were animals to increase the population. Who, by your standards, because they were born here, were American citizens. Who had so this whole cycle is kind of interesting to me because, and I'll start with the borders. I have 3 college graduates. None of my kids came to me and said they wanted to cut grass, be a roofer, or wash dishes. So they said they're taking jobs. And I pointed out to somebody on the boat, and they never thought about it before. You have everybody focused on them taking our jobs over the border. You know who's taking the jobs? People coming over the other border. And they're taking them because we're not educated enough. They're getting the jobs that we don't have the education to do now. So they're getting those jobs. And they're not taking them, they were giving them to them. So, but nobody's paying attention to that.
And even with that argument, I'll say we focusing too much on the idea of jobs, and they are.
But that's the argument about the border. That's crime. But I don't want to get into crime because that's just crime.
I would say is other resources that they take in and getting from people. Like I just saw in California, they passed a bill where they can get $150 for a house, like a loan for $150 with 0 interest. And that's insane to me to think, like, as Black people in our past, in our history, like all the things that people had to do to come close to even getting equal rights and opportunity. But it's like people can come illegally and then they just get access to things.
Well, can they come illegal? But see, can you be illegal? Because most of those
That's what it
programs,
says.
you
Yeah.
have to be a citizen.
No, it said you don't have to be a citizen.
And you know, you gotta.
You don't have to be.
See, I would have to research that because I can't believe banks are giving.
They just passed that today.
I think $150,000 because banks don't want to give $150,000 to people with good credit.
Just put that bill out there in California today.
Then, but
then that's happening in other places too, like where they kind of appeasing these.
I can't speak to that because I have to research it because I don't know if that's true or not. You say they passed the bill today, and I would have to dig deeper because one thing about America, they don't typically give away anything.
But I think
so
that's where
I have to dig into that. But
make America great again for who?
And I hear what you're saying. It is definitely unfair. If that's what's happening, it's unfair. However, you know, you're talking about penalizing a whole group of people, you know, and everybody coming here is not looking for a handout. You know, everybody coming here is not a murderer, is not a, you know, there's some good people who come across here who just came across because they want a better life. Now, I totally agree with what you said, that if they're just giving them money for no reason at all, that's crazy. That is crazy, man, because, you know, that's just going to, you know, I don't mean it's no harm. If you get $150,000 and they don't have a job, how are you going to pay it back? I don't care if it's you giving them money for interest. You know, that's not going to keep that's not going to be sustainable in any system. That's not going to be sustainable. You know, but it's also a tool they use to point people against each other. They pit us against each other because we're fighting over stuff that really is not going to happen. Like I heard somebody say, "Man, I want my 40 acres in a mule." What you gonna do? Eat the mule because you don't know what to do with it. You know,
well, it needs to look like something else today. It ain't going to technically be a mule.
But what would it be? If you
and
how would you get it? But what would it be, and how would you determine who gets it? You know, so I think, you know, I'm not disagreeing, but there has to be other things in play. Like I was talking to the guy today.
But access to things, I think, like just like they about to get the ability to get these loans with zero interest. Like that's
I mean,
something that'll help people get generational wealth. Is like a lot. Helping them get homes and like.
And I agree, but again, I can't speak to it because I don't know. And if that's the case, it is unfair. Mm-hmm. But this is when, as a people, we got our elected officials got to speak up on our behalf. Mm-hmm. This is when the people who we vote in office, you know, I can't blame the person receiving it. I can't blame him for receiving it because he didn't. But whoever passed the law, whoever voted for it, that's who we need to be talking to.
Yeah.
And if it's people who look like us who voted for that, that's who we need to have a conversation with. That's who we need to not vote for again. Mm-hmm. You know, not wait for the presidents or a whole party to deliver us. We got to start dealing with the folk who's making these laws at those levels. You know, because it is totally unfair. And I do agree. I think a lot of times, most of the time, a lot of things are not accessible for us. Mm. You know, and it's kind of funny because I'm bringing the cruise into this. It's like when you go on a cruise, every cruise I've been on, it's like everybody just gets along. Maybe because they got to figure everybody paid to be there, but it's totally different. You know, all ethnicities will walk up and talk to you.
Ain't nobody fighting on a cruise.
No, it's just funny how people you stand there and talk to people. One guy walked him and his wife rolls up into older white couple, and they both got scooters, and they, you know, how you doing? I said, I'm living my best life. No, you can't be living your best life. He started laughing. He said, man, I'm retired. I'm living my best life. And he starts going. By the time the conversation was over, I knew he only paid $1,900 in taxes. He had 8 acres of land in Florida. You know, he showed me pictures of the trees. So it's crazy. You know, you just so you know, so it is possible. It is possible, and I laugh because, you know, about a funny story. Your mom and I said that to these two Italian couples. More, I've never seen people this Italian amount of time. Dude, they could have been hitting it. The thick accent, nice people. So, and it was funny because the waiters were fun. The waiters we had were fawning over us. They kept, you know, they learned our names. They, Miss Debbie, you not your food and everything. So the guy says, "Oh, who are you?" Italian guy says, "You look like a famous actor." So I'm laughing because, you know, black people, we always got to look like somebody.
Of course.
You know, so, but that just kind of, and he didn't mean anything by it, but that's kind of where we are in this country. If you're a black person and somebody's treating you with respect, you have to be somebody. You can't be just a regular Joe Schmo, you know. And so, is that how we make America great again? And it's just interesting to me how, and somebody out there, if you join in, do whatever you got to do, help me out here, because maybe I just haven't heard it yet. Again, nobody can explain to me what that really means. Nobody can pinch, to your point, give me specific. Was it the 50s? Was it the 60s? Was it the 70s? And what made it great? Because there's times when the country was prosperous, but there was wars going on, so it wasn't great for the people fighting the war.
Right. I mean, and I feel like one thing that's always been constant is, like this race has been always an issue in this country. It's never been a time or a period where it has not been a problem in some type of way.
And it's worse now than it was 10, 15 years ago. So I don't know, and maybe what you're going to say, maybe it is social media, but it's worse now. And I do think that phrase, make America great again, was a phrase that united a lot of people who had racial issues.
So I think, why do you think it's worse? Because I think on the other hand, some people may kind of think like we have a lot more allies that are willing to speak, and towards some of those things.
I think it's worse now because people are more blatant about it. And I didn't say worse than ever. I said worse than 10 years. Nah, it was not 10 years ago. I'm not talking all the way back to civil rights. 10 years ago, people were a little more, they were a little more careful. It was a big deal because if you had a company, you had to have a black person working for you. You had, this is a little before Obama. You had to have black, so say 12, 15 years ago. So it was different. People were kind of innuendo kind of things. It wouldn't be, now, it's out there now. I'm not saying people didn't feel this way, but it's easier to say it now. It's easier to put stuff out there, and social media has helped because you can put stuff up there, kind of stuff. But I look at my lifetime, how it was, growing up, going through college, going through corporate America to now, and it is worse than it was 10, 15, maybe I should say 20 years ago. But it has gotten worse. Now, was it back like in the 60s? No, it wasn't that bad, but I think it has. And I think one thing that's made it worse is because typically when when a Caucasian person moves into an African American neighborhood, you see very few instances where it's trouble. Well, let it be the other way around. It's issues, man. You can't, you run and do whatever, but when they move in, it's no issue.
I mean, so for even some of these issues, are they things that have always been there and they just highlighted more because people posted it and talking about it online?
No, it's always been there, but it's happened at a greater propensity now. If you look at the stats and the things that's happened, it's happening far more now. I think it's, to you, right? I think for more people know about it now because of social media and because of that. But if you look at the stats, it's happening, and it's the stats that the government takes. All these, if you look at the stats, I don't have the exact ones, but the government talks about how, like the tax on Jewish people went up, the tax on Asian people went up, the tax when they were attacking the Arabs because of 9/11. So
it's definitely during those periods of time, like when.
And I think now it's media, to your point, and I agree with you 200% here. It's providing a platform now, where people can not just talk locally, but they can go viral in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in a heartbeat. Yeah,
and I think just that kind of contributes to some of the how we see some of this stuff just spread like wildfire. It's like it just has a lot more reach.
But that's why I would say I would love to be in a room with a bunch of people and have them define what that means. When was America great? To me, it's not about right or wrong. I'm just curious. I have yet to hear somebody nail down a time and say that's when America was great.
I mean, we not too long ago just said America is one of the greatest countries on earth. So I think obviously we think it's great for a reason.
But greatest means you're just better than everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, but it's like where else would you want to be? Like there's not too many places to go.
And I said that. Late 70s, we had more issues to deal with in race. AIDS, crack, and the fall of the black family were first. No one was really talking about race issues when Obama got in office. It was like he pulled the scab off America. Good point, Ms. Bell. Good point. Yes. So I think, and for me, I'm not against the phrase. I'm not for it. I'm asking for clarifications. So I do think America is the greatest country. It's far from perfect. There's a lot of imperfections, and I think some of the imperfections could be addressed if chosen to be addressed. So like our educational system is terrible. My humble opinion is it never gets addressed because it impacts more urban communities than any other community. So I don't see the rush to fix it. And it's been getting worse progressively every year. So I think that's just a perfect example. So it's greater than other nations, but There's other nations who place a higher value on education, healthcare. There's other nations with better healthcare systems than we have. Where everybody gets healthcare. So I think, yeah, I would say it's the greatest country, but it's a lot of flaws that can be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that just failed to be addressed.
And I think like again to the point, I feel like I mentioned racism is not going anywhere. It's always going to be here.
Unfortunately.
And like in terms of like make America great again, yeah, I think I've said this earlier before. It's just a slogan to get people to buy in or believe in something. Like even the definition of it is still kind of like vague in a way. Like talking about immigration and all these things that honestly I don't think impact us that drastically. I did pull up the point in terms of which they are going to give access to money, which that kind of blows my mind. But in a general sense, I think like they do contribute to our society.
Well, half those people complaining about them are using them.
Yeah.
And I'm not and I'm not saying, and I'm trying to say this as politically correct as possible. Typically, the jobs they take are jobs that Americans don't want.
Yeah.
Typically, they're taking jobs like, you go to a high school now and see how many of those guys want to or girls want to go wash dishes. Not going to get it. How many of you guys want to be a landscaper? You're not going to get a whole bunch of them that's going to be out there. How many of you guys want to be a roofer? You're not going to get a whole bunch of them that want to do those type of jobs. But those are jobs that's needed to keep this country going. Those are the type of jobs that you can ignore, but they're pivotal jobs in this country. When I got my roof done, we looked at a bunch of companies. We did. When the company came out, man, they were all Hispanic, Honduras, different things, man. But they worked. They sang, they worked, they got the job done, man. No, I never heard that before in my life. They were out there singing and having a ball out there. Yeah, no, they worked, they did it, and they weren't complaining. So I'm saying, we're not lined up to take those jobs though. So who's going to do the jobs? That's my point. So I hear you when you say that. But and again, I think it's just the way they a weapon they use, a divisive weapon to point people against people. They say, hey, they're taking your jobs. When he made the comment taking black jobs, what's a black job? I know black people in so many different
any
fields.
job.
And can be a black job. So what you're saying is that we just do lower level jobs.
And it is kind of, again, similar to the Make America Great. It's just like kind of the allowing people to get or come to a conclusion without necessarily being direct in saying it.
I did have a question, mainly because when I looked up online, it said this wasn't the first time a slogan was used for presidency.
Yeah,
it actually was used when Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
So what did it mean back then?
Well, let me see this.
I wasn't around.
That was a little bit more probably controversial.
No, it's not a stunt because Ronald Reagan locked up he led the way of getting a lot of black folk incarcerated. He had that war on drugs thing, man, where they were. And it was funny because it was proven at their time that there were white cartels or white people and politicians, bringing this stuff into the country. But he specifically passed the incarcerated African American. He specifically targeted those communities. So that one, I wouldn't want to attach myself to that slogan either. And he came up in a time where they were still separatism. So I mean, great for us. I don't think it ever will be. It's better than it was, yes. But the young people are going to see a lot of things we haven't had to deal with in a long time. And I think we already are when we're seeing it's not happening frequently. When, last year the guy got drugged behind a pickup truck, the black guy just being, hey, they just did it. Even let's go back to the Central Park 5. When, our lovely guy decides took out a full paid ad to get him killed. But he's pro-life, and he pointed out to somebody. But he took out a full paid, spent thousands of dollars in newspaper ads to get the death penalty for them. Never came back to apologize to this day.
He said he won't.
To this day. But that's my point. So is that how America is great? And I don't mean this is a bad country, so please don't understand. But when you sit here and you tell me tell me when it was great, it's been better than everywhere else. I will say that. But there's so much room for this place to grow, man. We still got to have diversity and equity. Come on, man. To your point, why?
So I kind of have a question. So if we just said here that
your service
potentially it's worse right now. right? Like it's kind of the idea of racism.
It's not it's worse than it's been in a period of time. It's not the worst we've seen. It's worse than it's been in a period of time, is what I was saying. In the 20 years in that frame, it's definitely different. It's definitely different, man.
So I mean, it could be a time or something like that, I guess, in which we could go back to where it was better. And then I think from if would that message be different if it was coming from a different party?
Well, let's go back and take a look at that. See, and nothing is impossible. Nothing, and but you say, could we possibly write time to get better? Not if we don't make the right decisions now, and that's the problem. History. Napoleon Hill once said, "Those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it." So that's what you're seeing now. You're seeing people who think like they still have lynching laws on the books down south in some
downtowns.
They're taking off. Some towns you got to be out by dark.
Yeah,
that still happens. Yeah, sundown. That still happens. You have places where we're still inferior. So I mean, yeah, those issues got to be dealt with, and this is not stuff that people don't know about. No, there's not signs of it says blacks only or white only, but pretty much.
There are people that know it though.
Yeah, So I think and those issues are not being hidden. What happened in Charlottesville? There was nothing secretive about that. KKK probably showed up, and Trump said, "Oh, yeah, some nice people over there." They're standing up to make America great. January 6th, we stand up to make America great again. They were probably tweeted some of not the most, but they're good. You go to history books. It's along with the negative things that's happened in this country.
Yeah.
But those are issues that he honed that line on, and other people who can call themselves patriots hone that line on. We're going to take America back.
It's a fear tactic.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's like it gets people to be scared that either they feel like they're losing the country, which is something that they say quite often, or it's just like they feel like that, kind of like all the things Debbie said in the definition, that we're regressing.
This is great. This is not in our past, maybe in our future.
Again, yeah. I think that's where it's like the idea of it is really, they hear this a lot, a dog whistle. You know what I mean? Like this is silent whistle. The dogs hear it.
But the reason why the dog whistle continues to work because you never address it in the present. We keep talking about a better future. Martin Luther King says, "I had a dream." Dream is something that's going to come down the pipe. But unless you deal with stuff in its current state, it's always going to be the future.
But even with us talking about it and questioning it like this, do you feel like anybody's ever questioned him to this magnitude of like, can you explain to me when it was? He probably has.
Come on, what are we talking about, man? What kind of answer you think we're gonna get? It's the same guy. I was watching the thing the other day. They asked him a question about Kamala Harris, and he rambled for an hour.
We almost lost the Olympics.
People were walking out because he started talking about all kind of other stuff, her laugh and all kind of crazy stuff. But he's better looking. Come on, man, dude is walking. Is a walking poster.
Remember me? She dominated basketball.
So yeah, So or that he's got stupid thing he said. He's gonna recruit LeBron James so he can turn into a woman so they can win championships. He's gonna buy a team. It's moronic. It's moronic. So
I don't think he's being serious.
He was it wasn't a joke. But he was making a point about that was stupid. It was a tasteless joke. When he makes a comment about people who are handicapped through a different, that's not making America great. America has been if you go back and look at the history, it's a melting pot. It was created as a melting pot. When people came over on the early ships, they were different religions, different ethnicities. They weren't maybe black, but they were Polish. So America was founded like that. Mm-hmm. They were Scottish. So all this stuff about America and purism, it doesn't exist.
I think this one thing that we've kind of highlighted is that America can be greater.
Well, definitely.
It's a great place.
It should be better now. That's my point. Greater. My point is it should be better now. We got to stop saying, it needs to be. We shouldn't be struggling with stuff. And this bill put up, we shouldn't be struggling with stuff that we struggled with 30, 40 years ago. But yeah, people lost their lives for some of this stuff that we're struggling with now.
Yeah, I mean.
So was it great when they bombed the church? Yeah, but see, I mean, It's going to be a slow process, and I have hope. If I'm not going to sit here and say, I have hope. I'm hoping that some generation figures out that the way we're going now is backwards. Some generation figures out, man, that it just ain't working.
I mean, but you said it already before. Like, if you don't know your history, you're failed and doomed to repeat it.
Hence is why you want to take the books out of the schools.
That's definitely part of it. But then also, the other side is, I don't think we do a good enough job educating ourselves anyway.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that, but why would you? Because now I'm gonna be the other side of the coin. Usually plays because when you look, it's like when I was growing up, and we're gonna do a little time walk here. When I was a young kid, Tarzan, you had this white guy swinging in trees in the jungle, saving all the black people, killing lions with his bare hands, and talking about big,
I just need a cartoon version.
But it was a TV show. It was a couple. Yeah, so come on. So people are watching this. People are watching this, man. And then if you look at the shows back then, the only black people in the shows was housekeepers. They were maids, or they didn't have any prominent roles. Sidney Poitier kind of broke that. Sidney Poitier she played a maid though. She broke it playing a maid and going to win. And I'm not going to get into them how John Wayne didn't even want to be on the stage. They had to hold him down because he didn't want her to be on the stage.
I heard about that too.
So
they didn't want her to be at the awards,
and he got so upset because she was on the stage. Like, how did so was it great then? Now it was better than some other places, but was it great then? It's funny because what's the name? T.I. When he had whatever that
TIP,
whatever the black lady who speaks for Trump all the time.
Candace Owens.
Yeah, he had her in an interview and he destroyed her. I thought he did. He destroyed her. But he was asking her the same question. And she was throwing all this, never answering the question. And he said, well, tell me when it was great for you. Well, she said America diluted. America was the first people to do away with slavery. What, you gonna crack? Man, we're not the first people to do it. So my point is, but because people say it and they don't know what it means. They don't know their history. And this goes back to what you said, because there's the reason why you don't teach people their history. Because when you teach people their history, they get stronger because they know the mistake they've made. Most of them learn from the mistakes they made. When you don't teach people their history, they whatever you want them to be. You come from slaves. Africa, man, kings and queens. Egypt. That was all part of Africa. Then all of a sudden, when they couldn't figure out who made the pyramids, they turned into another country.
Can be you guys.
Yeah. So I think these are the things. When I hear people say "Make America Great," and it is the greatest country. But what does that mean?
And I like this graph here that Devin pulled up. I wish we could share and show this to people, but it has outlined kind of in a hierarchy of like what it means to people, like by the MAGA voters. So I guess like starting with the least, and we'll go to the kind of, I guess, the strongest. Yeah. So Dev, if you want to share, like, this is what it means for MAGA Trump voters when we say "Make America Great Again."
Like, there it is.
All right, so about 10% think anti-immigrant or anti-immigration.
That's at the bottom.
12% think more freedom.
You hear freedom of speech a lot. They don't think they.
Now, 15% says conservative judges.
For the judges?
Yeah, I get that one. Well, this was kind of crazy. 26% just said Donald Trump.
It means Donald Trump.
See, to me, but that sums up the ignorance of a group of people, man. There's no way you can listen to this. And I'm not anybody, but dude is literally incoherent right now.
I mean, yeah,
I had better. When my dad had dementia, and we had better conversations. So and then let me address this one by one. Let's start with immigrants.
Let's get through the list.
29% says better international agreements.
So like when you're talking to Putin and
and every other dictator out there.
31% says lower taxes
for the rich corporations.
54% stronger borders,
which would just be anti-immigration in a way, right?
And then there's the rest, around 60 percentile. Better economy. That's what most people tend to.
And that's when people talk about inflation.
Yeah.
But the stock market has been booming.
That's all camouflage. I guarantee you, those people, when they get off that server, they ain't talking about no better economy. They talking about less of us. They talking about less of us, man. It's like when people complain about the Olympics. You're winning because it's mostly black. They had an all-white swimming team, and white people thought that was the greatest thing that happened to America because no blacks on the swimming team. You know, and so let me go back.
But you want to know the thing about that survey too. Those are probably just the options that they were provided
Yeah.
with. So
But most people,
if they couldn't put a E.
But most people lie on surveys. Most people, if they're being surveyed by another human being, the average person not gonna sit there and say I'm a racist. No, they're gonna give some political correct answer. Very few people understand it.
Nobody's gonna know this.
No, that's not
You
true.
said anonymous?
Very few people will stand there and say when they're taking a survey, and we'll tell the truth. The second thing, I learned this in economics 101. You can take a survey anywhere, make it say what you wanted to say just by picking a specific place that's going to make your data seem real.
It's like these MAGA people.
Yeah, so but if I want to turn around and say, 60% of this neighborhood don't smoke anymore. I'm gonna go to a non-smoking neighborhood. My survey's not lying. I just service the population to prove my point. It's like when they talk about this, all these people polled in communities. I don't know anybody got polled. I don't know anybody got polled.
Are we saying the survey is wrong? I mean,
no, but I'm saying you can manipulate a survey.
We can know that does not exclude that other things can be true.
But you can manipulate it. The point I'm making is, you can manipulate a survey. And if you go back and address those, like, okay, like the other day we watching TV, these two old ladies look like they're both 110 each. You know, what should make my main concern is the border. The border is your main concern? Come on, you're 110.
I mean, that's what is we being fed, honestly.
But like, that's what I'm saying about the survey. You feed people a bunch of stuff, man.
That's just, it's crazy. That's how our politics are.
It's not like, just even politics.
On the Democratic side, like,
it's not just the politics.
For schools, we riding for.
It's not just politics. It's if you look
Israel.
We are a country now. We've become a country now, especially people who follow this dude right here. A sound bites. We don't research. We don't read. We don't try to find stuff out for ourselves. We go by sound bites.
Yeah.
And that's how we function. And you're right. It's Democrat, Republican. It's all parties. I mean, if I had my way, tear them all down and start over again. It ain't never gonna happen.
Need 3 parties.
It's not even 3 parties. You need some real candidates. The parties itself, you need real candidates. Like, there's no way the Democrats wait till the 9th hour to find out that Joe Biden's too old. Come on, man. You knew that 4 years ago.
But part of it is like they feel like they did that to get Kamala.
No, I said, see, now here we go with all the conspiracy things. I doubt that very seriously because
they was going to let him run.
They were going to let him run. There's a lot of people in this country who are not ready for a black woman president. There's black men who I think are ignorant and stupid and dumb, and I don't care if I said it because she's a black woman. You hear people say stuff like that. So I doubt it was some conspiracy to get her to run because one goofy guy goes, oh, well, Kamala's never going to win because God doesn't want to win. Why did God want to win? Because Adam and Eve in the garden. Come on, give me a break.
It wasn't necessary to get her to run, but like the other Democratic options.
You should have been preparing the candidate long before this. You don't wait. So I agree with you. Both parties leave a lot to be desired. I'm not sitting there saying one is better than the other. And what I said is basically what I said to the young man I was talking to, the black young man today, is I got a grandson, and I want my grandson to grow up in a world where he can vote, where it's not a dictatorship. I want my grandson to hopefully be led by a country who doesn't prefer white supremacists. Those things like that, man, are important to me. So it's not just about this election. So when I go back to Make America Great Again, you can't say anything without factoring in everything. That's like, unless you go 16-0. When the Dolphins went 16-0, and they were perfect, they were great. Had they went 15-1 and 15-2, still won a Super Bowl, they wouldn't have been as great because it's a blemish.
Yeah,
it's a blemish. So I think, and it's the same thing with our country. We should not have the educational system the way there should not be a disproportionate, educational system set up for blacks and set up for everybody else. Everybody knows you won't pass something against gun violence. Why? Because it kills more blacks than whites. So then when it gets a mass murder, then everybody comes out, but they won't change the laws. So the deck is stacked against us. It is, and I'm not saying America's not a bad place, but it's still stacked against us. And until we understand that, and until we begin to come up with a systematic plan to speak against it and to be active, I'm not talking about march for 2 days or 2 weeks and then tear a property and go home and 6 months later everybody forgot about it. I mean, be proactive. The guy I'm talking today, he keeps talking about the presidential election. We got mayors, African mayors, who've done nothing. We got black city councilmen who've done nothing. So we got to start there by holding them accountable. We got to hold them accountable. We got to stop saying what the president is not giving us. And we got to start holding people who we do vote for accountable.
Yes.
And we got to hold ourselves accountable. So to me, I'm not saying, again, I repeat, I'm not saying the country is not bad, but I've seen better. I've seen when I was in college, the KKK, nigger, all the stuff. I've seen that, and I've seen us get to a point where, we get Caucasians. I'm in the workplace, man. We're having civil conversations, and then I see us at a point now where we got a bunch of Karens running around, and it's acceptable. It's acceptable.
It's crazy because I feel like it's always been racist and like always had these moments and never been chill. Even when at our high school, when it was coming to basketball games, having the Confederate flag.
But you're not hearing what I'm saying. Like, I didn't say it wasn't there. I said I've seen it better. I didn't say I didn't see it non-existent. I said I've seen it better. So I've seen it better, and I see the worst now. I've seen when Karen wasn't acceptable, that would be dealt with, to now where Karen is acceptable. It's not being dealt with. Mm-hmm. It's almost a norm. It's a funny thing now. Everybody's making videos about it. Everybody's recording. There was a time when that wasn't acceptable.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's different now.
It's not.
The reason why I say I feel like it's different because now people have gotten made fun of so much for that. People don't even want to be labeled as that. Same thing with racism. People are afraid to get called out as racist now. People are afraid to get labeled these different things.
Who's afraid?
There are people out there that are afraid.
There's some people.
There's companies out there that are afraid that they be deemed as racist. They take this stance. And they don't go this way.
No, they and only because it impacts the bottom line. And I go back to the Colin Kaepernick story. When everybody was telling Nike to dump him, they was like, look, who? And CEO of Nike came out and said, you don't understand who buying their sneakers. All those people were saying dump them, buying the sneakers off the rack. Those people who support Colin Kaepernick, they paying $300, $400 for a pair of sneakers. That's why they didn't dump. They didn't dump because they believed in the cause. They didn't dump because it was going to help the bottom line. So it wasn't about whether it appeared racist or not. This is going to impact our bottom line. Our stockholders don't care. They just want to get that big check. There are some people who do care, but there's some people who don't care, man. You think Elon Musk care? No. I'm a racist.
I think it's a lot more people that don't care.
He don't care because guess what? And guess who keeps buying this product? I go back to marketing, and some guys in there know, and I me, I'm this whole historical thing. I remember when KFC was getting beat by Church's Chicken that came on the scene. Burger King was starting to tap into McDonald's, and Cadillac, blacks was buying BMWs. KFC came out with the rapping Colonel. Come on, man, you ain't in a million years think you some white dude from down south rapping with a cane, but they did it because they knew who was buying their product. And then you go look at Cadillac. Cadillac put a black person on the hood of the car for the first time in the history. And McDonald's came out with the all beef fat, quarter pound split. So they all came out with it. So because they knew
the R&B commercial.
Because they know, but they know what works in our community. But the only time they address our community is when we hit the bottom line.
Yeah,
that's it. When we hit the bottom line, But America is great when what they tell LeBron James, shut up and play basketball. So America's great. As long as you entertain me, I don't care about your politics. I've been to church when somebody came to me and said, well, I stopped watching football because they kneel at halftime. And all. So that's on you because don't turn the show off at halftime. And you listen to the point of you're the reason why they're kneeling. Mm-hmm. Because you're saying you believe in free speech and all this stuff, but when you give them a chance to express themselves, you don't want to watch it.
It's everybody. It's everybody.
So is that when America is great? We still better than Russia. So don't people look at me. Don't get me wrong. We still better than China, the communist companies, but we're not good enough. We're not good enough, and that's my point. If I look at this generationally, if I step back, we're not good, and we should be better.
I mean, that's what I said. Listen, my stance on us is that we're great and can be greater. Like
What makes us great? I'm curious. I'm not saying we're not, but what makes us great? Yeah.
Let's see. I do have the right to vote.
But you may not because what did Trump say?
We got public transportation. We got access to clean water. I can walk up and down the street like without any type of really thinking like I'm in crazy danger.
Well, Canada has all those things,
huh?
And they got a better healthcare system. Who? Canada. And they got a better healthcare system.
Still got racism too.
But I'm just saying, but the things you named that just make us great. There's not a whole lot of separation between places like Canada. They have all the same stuff.
I wouldn't want to.
And racism too. They got racism too. I'm not saying that. So, but that's my point. I hear it, and I'm not saying we're not great. So somebody watching it, please.
That's like the craziest thing to me too when we talk about as Black people sometimes. there is nowhere on this earth where you're going to go and not experience some type of racism, unless you think you're going to Africa or even just somewhere where it's people that look like us.
But for me, I'm past the racism point, because I do agree with you. I think racism is something that until you really everybody gets united and try to stomp it out, is we're going to struggle with it. Because look, face it, we still in the church, and I'm huge in the church. We even have Sunday is probably the most segregated day in the world, because we got black churches, white churches. So I agree. Even in church, we deal with the whole race thing. So I get it. But it's not just about racism for me. For me, about is what are we going to look like when Mackenzie grows up? What is he going to grow up in? If you have kids, what are they going to grow up in? We know the racism is going to be there, but there's other stuff we need to deal with too. Is Trump was talking about, and I don't want to get on this tangent, blowing up the educational system. It's already bad enough. And the Democrats, this is bad because they're not talking about the education system. We got schools in our men who don't have libraries. That's crazy. But then you say, well, these kids can't read, they're literate. Look what you're doing. You setting them up to fail. So there's so many other things, to your point, non-racism will be there, but we should be trying to fix, man. We know there's certain places that, and just be honest, that we'll never have 100% accessibility to. Just like when they turned around, they took away the grants or any economic help for African Americans go to schools like Harvard and Yale and schools like that. They took it away. They weren't giving it to people who wasn't educated or intelligent enough to go there. It was giving it to people who couldn't afford it. And they took it away because some Asian people who were not as well educated in most cases, who could afford it, felt it wasn't fair. Back to what you're talking about, giving the money to the elite. So that yeah. But once again, who does it hit? It hits us.
Yeah,
it hits us. And what I think people miss, when things like that happen, it becomes generational, man. It's not, and that's what I was trying to tell a young boy today. This ain't about you. We talking about generational stuff now. It's like when I vote, I thought about y'all when y'all were younger. When I was making my decisions, I wasn't sitting there talking about, man, this is all about me. And it's not. And I go a step further. That's why I'm disturbed when I see the black men in the barbershop. What are you going to do for black men? It's about your family, brother. It's about you. It's about your family. Or what are you going to do for, that I have a problem with, because it breeds disunity. It's about, what are you going to do for my community, man? Because they already got us thinking, if I do something for one person, we give him a little crumbs, he gonna be quiet, and the rest of them are gonna follow. So at some point, man, we got to stop saying "Make America Great Again" and put things in place where it can actually be great again. And greatness to me in America means it represents everybody. It represents everybody. We got this whole push for diversity and equity, and they want to fire them. So it's like, yo, I don't know. To me, I have a problem with the phrase. I do. When I ask people when they say, what does that mean? I haven't met anybody yet who could explain it to me, who could definitively say, I'm talking about this point in time. None. Yeah. Tell me when we're economically better, fine. I agree with that.
I'm bitter and upset with politics as a whole. So it's like the Make America Great thing definitely makes me mad, but it also, I'm probably just as mad on the other side.
But that's part of the problem. They want you to become, as African Americans, especially in the situation like now, or when Obama was running, they want you to be bitter. They want you to be disenfranchised. They don't want you to vote. Because
whose fault is that?
But you're missing the point. Is nobody's fault. When you don't do those things because of somebody else, they stay in control. That's the problem. I'm talking about people who say that, now you didn't say that far, but the young man today, well, I probably won't even vote. You're making the problem worse. Neither one of them are good. Politics suck. I'll be the first one to say it. But and you said you say it all the time. You got to start looking at, man, if this person gets in, how is it going to? One black dude in one of the meetings said this, and I think it was one of the most profound things when he said, I'm not crazy about either party, but he says, I know if Trump gets in office, I know what's going to happen. But honestly, if you ask me if Harris gets in office, I couldn't tell you it's definitely going to be better, but I got to choose.
Yeah.
So he was honest. But he didn't say I'm going to abstain and not vote, because when we abstain and not vote, we allow those people to, and then nothing changes. It gets worse, because now Trump already said he want to do away with the Constitution. He got people walking around with T-shirts saying I want a dictatorship. He already said you would never have to worry about voting again if I get it on.
I think the part that is frustrating is like, why is it? Sometimes it feels like it's not okay to call out the bad things on both sides.
It is. I just called them out on both sides.
Like,
but either way, you
like
still got to choose the
it's
system.
It's not okay to just even talk about it.
That's not what I said. What I said, and I didn't say you said it. When you choose to abstain from the system, you already chose. You already chose.
Yeah, and I guess again, none of us are sitting here saying that. There are
and I'm gonna go to Devin's point. You need, if you understand the way the system works, he alone doesn't have the power. But if you watch his history, nobody. I thought in my lifetime I would not see the Supreme Court going to overturn something. They did, whether it's wrong or right. They did. He strategically put people on the Supreme Court to help them. They had a bill that they were going to pass. Republicans submitted to just work on the border. He told them don't vote for it. Now, who did he tell? Senate and Congress. So if you get the Senate and Congress and the Supreme Court on your side, you can change it. You do have the power. That's what I was trying to tell young boy today. Him alone by himself, but when you got people doing what you tell them to do, you do have the power. He's a convicted felon running for president. You can't even get a job as a black man as a convicted felon, alone for president of the United States of America. It ain't happening. You try getting on TV telling somebody I can grab women by the crotch or I can shoot somebody in the middle of Times Square. You try that and see how far you get. So when I hear people say he don't have the power, he's putting people in place to support him to have the power to make those changes. Especially if you can't vote again. He's trying to change it so he can be president forever. That's crazy. But if you have more votes, than the other people, you control that. He's saying he's going to mobilize the military to squash all, protests. In my mind, I'm hearing our protests I don't agree with.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing in my mind. And you know what they usually turns out to be? Just like when January 6th happened. Who they blame? Black Lives Matters. Actually, they blame on the black people. We weren't even there. So those are the things I think we have to pay attention to, man, and look at this in a broader way. And I agree with you. Politics suck, man. Even I sat there, I watched the Democratic convention, and I love Harris. To me, I didn't get a lot of substance. I got a lot of talking about Trump and comparing you to him. I didn't hear about what you're going to do to fix our problems. So I agree. What you're going to do to fix the educational system? What you're going to do, to take care of homeless? We got more homeless teenagers in this country as at an all-time high. What do you do about the mental health? There's a lot of things that they did. They're still not talking about. I agree. You worry about people coming over this border, but the other border from Canada, they coming in by droves. They coming in by droves and not going back. So but the difference is what the complexion. When I was talking to young boy today, and we out of town, my last point, they're banning books. So, and I heard somebody say, yeah, well, they some of them books. So what happens when they says we're going to ban the Bible next? Because once you give them the power to do that, you can't stop them. I can ban, no black people going to make movies anymore because we don't want people seeing that side of it. Or now we're going to control what movies you make because we don't want you to put a movie out telling that part of history.
The Book of Eli.
But telling that part of history. Those are the things that are at stake here. And when I hear certain people say "Make America Great," and I hear what they say, that's what they mean.
I know.
Especially when you got a Confederate flag flying behind.
That's the doubling up on it. Like,
so for me, and I know sometimes we got to close. I get excited about it, but I think people don't understand. Whoever you vote for, but vote because this election is going to shape the country for the next 20 years. For the next 20 years, this election right here is going to shape the country. And that's on both sides. Democrats are not perfect. Republicans are not perfect. And I hate to say this because I know you say it a lot, but you truly picking the worst of the two evils.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing you point out too is like seeing local representatives.
Most people ain't know where they are.
The most influence on your day-to-day, everyday life.
I used to work the polls. Primaries, nobody coming out, man. Nobody comes out for primary. Or they come out, I'm working the poll. I was a judge. They asked me who to vote for. Or who should I vote for? Dude, first of all, it's illegal. Because nobody pays attention. But those are the people who start this process. Harris is not going to fix what's going on in our school systems in Philadelphia.
Nope.
So unless it becomes a nationwide thing, and that hasn't been mentioned in either campaign.
Which nationwide, like.
So one thing the young boy had a good point today, and I had to give it to him. I don't watch anyway, but I don't want to watch a Democrat thing to see Megan Thee Stallion up there shaking her butt. That got nothing to do with politics. Now that is pandering. That's you trying to get a certain vote, you put up there, you know. Yeah, but no, you say that, but at least Little John was tied to a state. I'm not. He was considered a resource. So I'm not agreeing with it because I do understand what you're saying. But at least he had a purpose for being there. He had no purpose for being there, but to shake, get the crowd excited. So I do. I'm on both sides.
A strong, independent woman.
Yeah, that's what they had her up there for. Her strong, independent.
Yes,
liberation.
That's it.
There's so many other people they could have put up there.
She's the face of that movement.
No, she's not. Get out of
She
here.
is.
Yeah.
She is. I'm not even playing. You
The
think
face
I'm
of what
playing?
movement? You mean her age? She don't appeal to people my age. People my age don't care about Megan Thee Stallion.
And that's where I think that's where the divide is because
People,
yes, unfortunately,
They
they
not
not.
thinking
I
about
disagree
people
because
their
people our age are the ones who vote. Your age,
Yeah, they know they got your vote.
No, but
They already know where you're going.
So they do care about
They
you.
know
So
where you're
that's
going already.
They don't see. That's the problem. They don't know because there's a lot of people my age. See, this shows you what y'all don't know because if you pay attention and your mom watches these shows, so I gotta admit, no, because a lot of people my age was on the fence, and they said it. They said, "Yo, before Biden got out, we were trying to figure out what we were going to do because we didn't like either candidate." They were like, "Yo, what are we going to do?" So people waited to see who Kamala was, and again, she's not perfect, but she did deliver a sound speech. She hasn't made the big mistake yet. There's things she could do differently, but she is. So, and it goes back to what the brother said from Chicago. If I pick Trump, I know what I'm getting. I know he's going to do nothing for my community. I know if I pick him, what's going to happen. Taking away voters' rights, he's supporting it. The poor two black people who worked down there, they lied on the person. They already know that. But with a Kamala, I could say the same thing. I don't know what's going to necessarily be better for me. I don't know.
You know you voting for her.
I don't know because I'm not voting for Trump because of what he's saying. but see, you can't go. See, this is the part where y'all got to just think about this and be serious. No jokes. No, you're not because you're assuming you're saying there's people on this thing right here, my age, who will tell you the same thing, man. They weren't locked into the vote. They were having a real tough dilemma because they didn't want to vote for Trump. But they weren't locked into voting Democrat because it was Democratic. So when Biden got out, it did kind of rejuvenate the party.
Because you didn't want to vote for Trump.
It did. But you're making it seem like they were going to put, like, nah, regardless of who was on the other side, they were going to put. No, that wasn't it. It was they think just like I think. How is this going to impact me generationally? I agree with you. Biden was old. He was too old. He was, he was starting to slip. He was a great president. But he was. He was not. He was not going to be capable for the next 4 years. So I get that. But you make it seem like people my age just locked in. We vote Democrat. No, that wasn't the point.
Ain't nobody saying that you
are
locked in Democratic. I'm saying nobody was voting for Trump. What is your other option?
But I guarantee you say it doesn't matter. If you take my generation out the fact, they don't win. If you take my generation out this election right now and you take that vote out that you said
we already know where you're voting.
They don't.
I think that's what we were talking about, the idea of appealing to a younger audience.
But if you go back and look
you said
Megan Thee Stallion was the face. That's not,
for younger. And that's
you didn't say for younger. No, you didn't say for younger. You didn't say for younger. You said she was the. I said for your generation. You said that she was the face. I said for your generation. You said she was
the face of women empowerment and individualism for our generation.
If you go back and you look at it, they had somebody for every generation. I'm not an Oprah Winfrey fan, but they know. Yeah. They put Oprah up there. She did her thing. They put what's the lady from Scandal? I can't think her name now. So they did. They strategically got people from every. They did. They were good at it.
He's calling her brat.
They were strategically good at getting people from the different things. And so I get it. But I think to my point, that's a sad statement if that's the face. Did you got Megan? That's sad. That's a sad statement. And I'm not. If she had got out there and gave a speech or something like that, but you out there shaking, making her butt cheek shake. That's not a statement.
That's our younger generation.
But then what's that say about your generation? That you want to vote because the chick up there shaking her butt instead of looking at what's going on. That's not a good statement.
Women empowerment. She's
shaking her butt and empowering no woman.
That's what Kamala put her up there for.
But that's not a problem. I don't know that because I don't know what the thought process was behind. I don't know if she chose her or not. So I'm not going to make that broad statement. But that's not representing a strong black woman. It's not. I don't care what generation it is. That's not. I know a lot of strong black women. They ain't gonna get up there and shake things. No. So that to me, no. To me, no. I just that to me, and I did agree with the young boy when he said that. I don't agree with that.
Yeah. I mean,
And
listen,
he was in your age bracket, and he felt totally. He was like, no, that turned him off.
I
That turned him
don't agree.
off.
We've
that
talked
turned
about
him
how
off.
crazy and stupid it is, but I'm also just saying, like, from our generation standpoint, you can see them trying to do things to appeal to a younger mass that it's like it's almost cringy sometimes.
And it is. No, it ain't almost. It is.
I mean,
It is.
I'm talking about not everything that they do. Sometimes,
but but that's a major flaw. But it's not. And it goes back to marketing. Marketing does the same thing. If you go on Foot Locker or you go on a sneaker store where black spot, they ain't playing no Frank Sinatra. No, they playing rap music because they know that's what attracts. It's like the Pied Piper. You go on the Macy's, they playing Frankie Beverly. They go mixing it up because that's the audience. So marketers had known a long time ago how to get the crowd. Politicians just picking up on it. So, but I still don't think it's right. I agree with the young boy that's the one thing we agreed on. But I had to laugh because he talking about what she represents, but he knew the words of the song.
Yeah.
So, but you listening to it, so you just as guilty. So I get it.
It's personal life, not his politics.
That's the problem. But that's your personal life represents who you are.
Right.
You can shake it, and that's the problem with this. Your personal life represents who you are. You can't complain about something that you partake in, and then turn around and say it's not good. You supporting it. You can't do that.
It just made me think of his name, Rubio.
You can't do that.
Politicians, it was.
You can't do that, and that's a lot of politicians. They wearing two hats.
Yeah.
But you can't sit here and say I'm against this, but you listen to the music and you support. You can't do that. That's zero credibility.
I mean, again, I think he understands what it represents. I think he's just like, that's not the place for it.
Yeah.
But I'll listen to it in the club. At the bar.
But it's just as demeaning to women in the club as it is on stage. It doesn't change.
It's a place and a time.
It doesn't change. And then you say, so it's always a place and a time for disrespect? No, it shouldn't be a place or a time with that.
They don't see it as disrespect. I think that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
We can talk about
but
that.
That's the problem.
And we actually might need a female to be part of that conversation.
Local elections are the most important. You're absolutely right, man. Sarah says my sons don't look convinced. Sarah, this is interesting, man. That's funny, man. But I just, and as we close, the statement. I just think if somebody can sit here or come to me and explain to me what that means, and not just say the statement, and then maybe I'll be enlightened a little more when somebody says what it means to make America great.
I think we know.
Ain't they coming to Philly?
Maybe I will.
Go ask.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. Who?
He said they could be coming to Philly.
Who?
Go ask Trumpers.
I don't know. I'm talking about that. They're supposed to do a
debate.
Yeah.
That's in Philly?
I'm pretty sure. That's what I seen today.
They need to look into that.
No,
Let's go down there.
He's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. He don't know he's gonna do it. But see, that's another thing. You got a guy, and I know we closing. She's smarter than he is, and he constantly attacks her intelligence. So I mean, this is not even, and to your point, this is not even about. This is about they talking about each other. I want to hear what y'all gonna think, especially him. That's all he does. He talks about no issues. Every speech, your mom watches the highlights of the speech. He talks about no issues.
I don't know what any of them are running on, but they will be in Philadelphia.
The only thing he talks
September 11th. Wow.
Ooh, yeah.
Wednesday, September 11th, 9 p.m. Actually,
it'll be interesting.
It's on the 10th.
It'll be interesting.
It's on the 10th at 9. So yeah, that's you go down there, you can ask somebody, what does it mean to make America great again? We'll go with you, so they ain't gonna try to jump you. Be outside.
Well, let me tell you, they very strategic about who they jump on.
Be outside.
They're very strategic.
That's why they be right there.
They're very strategic about who they jump on. When you watch those things, man, they very strategic about who they jump on.
That's why I'm gonna be there with you.
Very strategic.
They're gonna see an older gentleman by himself and try to take advantage.
But I mean, people out there, if you out there and you agree with this look, just tell me, enlighten me. Just let me know what that means. And if you can tell me, if you can point to a specific time and say, then hey, guess what? You have a good
and why was it great?
Yeah, you have a good point. But just to say make America great again, and you go back and you don't know when, you just saying it, that's too broad a statement.
Yeah. Because again, like I said, I keep saying that America's great, but could be so much better. America's great could be better. But Dev, you got a closing statement for us for Dev does his outro?
Yeah. Oh, you mean Dev? You asked me a Dev.
You done that.
You want to go first, Devin?
Nah, he's going after you.
Yeah.
You already know what he's gonna say. Like,
I know. I mean, no. My closing statement is this: I don't care who you vote for, but people who look like us died, so we can have a right to vote.
we say that.
People who look like us died, so we can have a right to vote. So just and whoever you vote for is on you, but exercise your right to vote and be an educated voter. You know,
Yes.
just don't go in there and pull Lara because she's black or because she's a female. Be an educated voter. Know what you're voting for, and don't stop at the presidential election. Vote in your local election.
Local. Yes.
Because your vote does matter.
Well, great conversation here tonight. I think thoroughly enjoyed it. There's some people out there who might think that we're Trumpsters. We're not.
They know I'm not. I made a bunch of
I'm a
cuts.
moderate. So
I made a bunch
I'm in
of
the middle, you know? But Dev, give us the outro.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. If you have any interesting thing to say about, Make America Great or anything, let us know. A2BM.
Follow us. Yes. Comment, share. Thank you guys.
Hey, send us some topics.
Yeah.
Send us
We
some
need
topics,
that. We
man.
need that.
You know,
We need
and thank you
Yeah,
guys for
let's have
participating, man. We greatly appreciate it.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good one.
Good night.